The Shark Deck.
I'm Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. I think it was Monday's show. I was talking about the replacement voices for Rick and Morty and how new Bugs Bunny was awful, and I did a half-ass Bugs Bunny. And I was Facebook messaging with one of the listeners, Becky, and it got my brain going, and I'm like, all right, what if I combine half-ass Bugs Bunny with half-ass Jeff Foxworthy? And here's what the late bot wrote. Okay, you ready? It's Bugs Bunnyworthy double half-ass impression. You ready? Here we go. If you've ever outsmarted a coyote who thought he was a genius, you might be a rabbit. That's so bad. One more. Hey, what's up, Doc? If you've ever cross-dressed just to confuse a hunter, you might be a rabbit. That was so bad. This is why you have to have the real Rick and Morty voice. Trevor Noah is getting a new podcast. I like Trevor a lot. I think Spotify kind of made a mistake here. They announced this at Spotify Beach at Cannes. Now, why is it a bad look, Johnny Mac? Remember last week, Spotify laid off like 200 people out of the podcast department, and now we're at Spotify Beach at Cannes throwing a party. And look, I worked in the entertainment industry. I'm a big boy. I understand we could do two things at once. But when you lay off 200 people and then you're at Spotify Beach at Cannes and it's Paris Hilton and guys from Barcelona Soccer and Trevor Noah and Emma Chamberlain bands, and you laid off 200 people, but we're having a concert at the beach at Cannes. It's just, it doesn't look good. It just doesn't look good. Trevor Noah said, "It's really exciting to be joining Spotify on a fun new adventure where we'll engage in interesting and meaningful conversations with some of the world's most fascinating people. We'll also probably fix every single issue humankind has ever faced, so you definitely want to join us for every episode. Per the press release, the weekly podcast will blend Trevor's signature humor and razor-sharp wit with his global perspective to deliver a unique take on the hottest and most captivating topics of the moment. What's interesting is this will not be only on Spotify. They're going to release it on all the platforms, just like this podcast." Kevin Hart's out of Cannes as well. The New York Post reports Kevin Hart vaguely alluded to his sex tape extortion scandal that nearly ended his marriage while giving a talk at the Cannes Lions Festival. Kevin explained he's not only changed as a person, but also how the, quote, ecosystem of Kevin Hart, unquote, has evolved over the years. Do you want to throw up in your garbage can? You do. The ecosystem of Kevin Hart. Stop. Just stop. Kevin said, "There was a time when I doubled down on family. Why? Well, I have a lot of brands that love the idea of family. Let me show family on a global scale." So you're into your family because brands love the idea of family? You sound like a psychopath. Kevin said, "There was a time when I focused on marriage and the household. There was a time when I focused on the idea of the mistake and it happening and being okay with the recovery. The Post reminds us in 2019, Kevin Hart was sued for $60 million by a woman who claimed she had sex with the comedian in 2017, and it was secretly recorded by his friend. Kevin Hart denied ever facilitating a recording, but issued an apology for cheating on his wife. Back then, Kevin said, "I'm at a place in my life where I feel like I have a target on my back, and because of that, I should make smart decisions, and recently I didn't. You know, I'm not perfect. I'm not going to sit up here and say that I am or claim to be in any shape or form, and I made a bad error in judgment, and I put myself in a bad environment. Well, only bad things can happen." They did. From Unilad.com, Robin Williams' son has responded to a tweet which claimed that Robin Williams had left his family behind. This happened on Father's Day. Zach Williams posted, "To all the dads out there who go all out for their loved ones, thank you for everything you do. Dad, I'm specifically remembering you for your courage and compassion today. Thank you for helping me to learn to be kind to myself as a first step towards showing up for others. Happy Father's Day. Love you forever." Pretty nice there, right, by Zach Williams? Well, one person responded and said Robin Williams, quote, had left his family behind. Zach Williams responded, and what a wonderful response. Zach wrote, "First, I want to acknowledge your perspective. With that said, there was a time when I was resentful, and I've done what I believe is necessary to work through the stigma associated with what you're referencing. No one is asking you to idolize my father. I adored him as he was an incredible friend and parent, and I'm sharing what I'm remembering him for today, wishing you a happy Father's Day, as you deserve to be happy. We all do." What a great response. David Spade told thethings.com he wouldn't mind doing late night again. He said, "I don't know, I liked Lights Out, and I hear so much about it after the fact, but I don't think the people that were in place at Comedy Central would have ever canceled it, and then it switched over. A lot of things happened. They just had a different vision, which is like a new coach coming in. I understand how that works, but it was a bummer. They need to brush it off and figure out what to do next, but it's hard to do that every night. That was harder than it looks, and I'm trying to write bits for the ending, and I'm trying to do monologue jokes. I see why it's hard for regular talk show hosts. They're very good at it." Brian Regan talked about his absurdist side with the Hartford Courant. An example of his absurd side, he said, somebody told me TV ads 10 pounds. I didn't believe it until I was watching a show about ants, and I was like, wow, those things look like they weigh 10.0001 pounds. Regan said, I always want to feel like somebody can't guess where I'm going, so I do something observational, then something absurd. I want it to be weird. He tries to make sure his current events material doesn't get dated. He'll say something like, well, we have a new president now. And adds, I try to be cagey enough to do jokes that both sides would laugh at. When I'm really good, I get both sides to think I'm on their side.
Lyle Hall, a cantankerous real estate attorney, has lost the ability to walk after a deadly car crash. But he has also gained something, the ability to read people's thoughts. And not just the living. When a girl's voice calls to him from inside the abandoned old Vic, Lyle is given hope of regaining the use of his legs, but it quickly turns to fear. This ghostly girl says Lyle's daughter, a rookie detective, will die in 4 days. Can he save her? Find out on the first season of Ghosthampton, a comedy horror podcast.
I'm on my second iced coffee today. Yeah, it's one of those days. I was up late and needed the caffeine. So if you'd like to support the show, you can buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/dailycomedynews. Throw some money in the tip jar. I'll take your money. I'll go to the National Donuts chain and I will order some days 2 iced coffees. The second one today was butter pecan and milk. And then my daughter's like, wait, you say butter pecan? I'm like, yeah, butter pecan. She's like, no, all my friends say, I don't know. We went down is it pecan pie? Is it butter pecan? And I'm like, it's butter pecan. I'm from Queens. That's how we say it. Apparently, all my daughter's friends think that's weird. Buymeacoffee.com/dailycomedynews. Just for Laughs has announced some more shows. These are the off JFL shows. Newly announced at the Montreal Comedy Festival coming up in July. Zarna Garg, Gina Yashir, Nimesh Patel, Frankie Quinones, Steph Tolev, Judy Gold, Dulce Sloan, Sydney Washington, Mark Forward, Martin Urbano, and The Alternative Show. Still not sure I'm going to be able to make it up there. I'm trying. It's going to be a little hard this year. Decider reviewed Rob Schneider's new special on Fox Nation. I have not seen this one. I do not subscribe to Fox Nation. Decider wrote, memorable jokes. The first 20 minutes are packed with his most politically pointed barbs, choosing a voice to impersonate liberals that sounds not unlike fellow anti-vaxxer Jim Brewer or even Carlos Mencia's old shtick for mocking the intellectually disabled. Schneider gets applause breaks and boos for questioning Democrats or liberals who have chosen either not to define womanhood or pick different terminology for women. He takes on the United Airlines CEO for saying he wanted to hire more diverse pilots, using it as an excuse to act out an impersonation of an unqualified Puerto Rican little person with no sense of direction in the cockpit. He has a chunk about pandemic mask jokes. Note to comedians, time to leave that behind. Schneider then talks about his traditional liberal bona fides, earning light applause for sticking up for gay rights as civil rights, even if his support for gay marriage is dependent upon a joke that they have the right to be just as miserable as me. Hack. Johnny Mac not pulling his punches today. Why do you do this podcast, John? Are you just trying to make everyone mad at you? Probably that's how it'll end. Schneider also has a few woefully misguided and explicitly anti-trans jokes, and he does have a joke about his own pronouns. His pronouns are he and ha. Oh my God, hack. I'm sorry, Rob. I'm sure you tell these better. These are reading terribly. Pronoun joke? Come on. Stop. Decider says, though, it's not all half bad. If he had taken out the most rabid right-wing red meat, he could add a decent hour. But it might not have gotten him on Fox Nation. Their call, if you don't already have Fox Nation, skip it. Save your free trial for some other time. But if you do have Fox Nation and you're a middle-aged or senior guy, this just might be the material you were looking for. Bob the Drag Queen's brand new special called Woke Man in a Dress is out today. Bob says, I love the comedians are now making our own specials. The most important factor in a comedy special is it funny? And the answer is, I'm hilarious. You can stream it via Patreon. Go to wokemaninaddress.com. It's Bob's 37th birthday. Happy birthday, Bob. Bob also recently debuted his debut album, Gay Bars with a Z. Phil Dunster plays Jamie Tart on Ted Lasso. The LA Times caught up with Phil, who said, they expect me to be really good at football, which is terrible because when people pick me for their side, they're like, you suck. The Times was like, are you bad? I'm okay. They edit around it, but mostly people are disappointed in my football ability and the accent, which is a lovely thing. People are like, oh, I believed you. And that's your comedy news for today. Follow the show for free on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Smash that like button on the YouTubes. See you tomorrow. All right, enough with the negativity. Hi, I'm Johnny Mack, host of 5 Good News Stories. It's a podcast twice a week. Every episode, I curate 5 heartwarming, uplifting news stories from around the world, showcasing the best of humanity, tales of kindness, fun animal stories, quirky items in the news, and you know what? More often than not, something about McDonald's. Can't explain why. I'll bring you a range of stories that will leave you feeling hopeful and optimistic. Start your day on a positive note. The number 5 Good News Stories. It'll make you smile to start your day on a good note. 5 Good News Stories, wherever you get your podcasts.